My brother and his partner just had a baby this week, so this next topic hits close to home. And for any new parents returning to work, it can feel overwhelming, especially for moms trying to breastfeed while juggling career demands. And today we're joined by Lisa Myers, founders of Ceres Chill, to share the rights, resources, and real-life strategies that help parents through this critical time. Thank you for being here again.
I am so excited. The last time I was here, your friend was having a baby, and so I had wanted her to have a chiller because I know how much it meant to me. So,
and she loved it, and now I need another for my brother.
Perfect. And this is Working Pumping Moms Week all the way through September. I mean, every day should be, but so it's good timing.
Yeah, so what inspired you to take on this mission about helping families navigate pumping and milk shortages?
It was less an inspiration and more I guess we'll call it a calling, or just like pure mom grit. I went back to work myself. I worked in a law firm pretty much with all men. And so I definitely felt the struggle. I felt I needed to pretend I didn't have kids, but I definitely did have kids, and so many moms experience that. The Department of Labor says 25% of moms return to work after just 2 weeks having had their baby, and then pumping moms end up quitting breastfeeding. Breastfeeding moms, 25% of them after returning to work. So yeah, it's hard. The struggle's real.
The struggle is real, and going back to work with a newborn, I can only imagine, is extremely overwhelming for all of these reasons. So what steps can parents take to really prepare for as smooth of a transition as possible?
Prepare. Yeah. I think the main thing is, I know this gets used a lot and can feel a little trite, but to give yourself grace. You can't manage other people. All you can do is do your best to manage yourself and your expectations of yourself. Certainly having conversations with your employer in advance, and I know we'll talk a little bit more about that, but giving yourself grace and then planning as much as you can before you return to work. So even practicing pumping once. A lot of professionals out there will recommend that you pump 2 weeks in advance so you get the hang of it, maybe build up a bit of a supply for when you're not there and your supply dips when you go back. But yeah, that's key, is like just practice a little bit before you go back, and then hopefully it's not so overwhelming. The overwhelm will be there though.
It will always be there in some capacity. And a lot of moms start out wanting to breastfeed, but work demands can make it tough. So how do they keep it going? What are some tips?
Yeah, so as I said, so many moms return to work before the recommended 2 years now. The American Academy of Pediatrics recommends breastfeeding for 2 years. So that can feel overwhelming. I'm overwhelmed. Kelly's like, I would bail right there. And that's the thing, is I think if you tell yourself, if I'm able to give that baby just 1 ounce a day, I'm having a huge difference. So going back to work, planning, practicing to the best of your ability, and then knowing your value as an employee and as a mom. No mom should have to choose between a paycheck or a career she loves and how she feeds her baby. So being able to advocate for yourself, knowing your rights and your value, and having those conversations with your employer before you return, I feel makes all the difference, because they might be just as worried as you are about what it's going to be like when you come back.
Yeah, and so I want to talk about pumping rights. What's the biggest misconception that you hear with working parents going in and what they're legally entitled to?
A lot of parents are led to believe by their employer, or they themselves just have it in their mind they're going to have to just grit their teeth and deal with whatever's available. And oftentimes that ends up being a bathroom or a closet. And you should not be preparing a meal, especially for a tiny baby, where other people are doing totally different things.
Who knows what?
Who knows what?
We'll leave it at that.
Exactly. See, Kelly, like you understand. Yeah. So the main thing is the Pump Act was recently put into effect. It applies to nearly every employer, employers with employees under 50 head count. It does not apply to them, but pretty much everyone else. An employer is required by federal law to provide a safe, clean, private space to pump and reasonable breaks. So that is somewhat up to interpretation. And so that's why working with your employer, letting them know what you'll need, oftentimes 30-minute breaks a couple times a day, and not a closet and not a bathroom, that's key.
very key and seems very reasonable.
Yeah, right?
Some parents, though, and just anyone, feels a little intimidated to talk to their boss about things like this. So what are some first steps and tips?
Yeah, I experienced that. I think seeing it from your employer's perspective, a lot of times we feel that we're going to have a challenge and it's going to be impossible when we get back to work. But seeing it from your employer's perspective, the fact they're concerned about you coming back, they've never probably pumped in the workplace before, man or woman, they might not know what you need. So knowing what you need, doing your best to advocate for yourself, and then getting the tools in place. So, if there's not a refrigerator available, you can use something like Ceres Chill. This is what I ended up inventing to solve my problem. And so having tools like this, letting them know, being aware of what their resources are so that you can work with them to make sure you have what you need to be successful as an employee and as a mom.
And before we leave today, where can people find Ceres Chill too?
Okay, so the website is full of lots of good information. I've helped moms write emails before to their employers, so I should have said before, sending that email to your employer about what you need in advance is key. But if you also would like a Ceres Chill, this is a chiller that can keep breast milk at a safe temperature for 20 hours with a handful of ice. So cereschill.com will get you there. But yeah, it's just great to be supporting these moms going back to work because it's good for the employers too.
Thank you so much.